Hi, everyone. Welcome to Less of Me Success Stories. I'm your host, Robyn Dobbins. Scott's unable to make it tonight, so Natalie is making her first appearance as co host and will be running the chat tonight. Hi, Natalie.
Hi, Robyn. Thanks for having me. We know what it's like to be helpless and hopeless. Your journey is not over. You can rewrite your story at any time. We provide a platform for people to share their stories and how they reclaimed their lives using dietary intervention.
Thanks, Natalie. We appreciate all of you for joining us tonight. Please take a moment to share the link on this live recording on your socials. As a reminder, we are not medical professionals offering medical advice. Please work with your medical team before attempting any dietary interventions. Tonight's guest was a chronic yo-yo dieter until he heard Vinnie Tortorich on Mike Rowe's podcast, Where's the Beef, 3 years ago. Now, at 55 years old, he is in the best shape of his life and getting healthier every day. He is lean and mean and working towards gaining muscle, often waking early in the day with a workout. Like most of us, he's had to learn through trial and error what foods work and don't work for his goals. Please welcome Russ Saburn to Less of Me Success Stories. Hi, Russ. Welcome.
Hi, Robyn, Natalie. Thank you so much for having me here tonight.
Well, we are so happy that you joined us. So, just so you know how this works, I'm just going to turn it over to you. We're all very interested in your story. So, in 3 years, lean, mean, gaining muscle, tell us all about it.
While working on it, everything's a work in progress. I think my story is like a lot like a lot of people's are. You said the words yo-yo diet. Um, that's what it's been my whole life. So, from when I was in my early 20s, the first time I decided that it was time to do something about myself. I was a truck driver, spending a lot of time in the seat of a truck. Basically ballooned up really quickly. Got up to about 320 pounds at that point, and got in a new job where I was still driving, but I was home every day. So I was able to make walking a part of my regular exercise routine. And there's always been walking and hiking has always been, ever since then, a big part of what I do. With up and downs here and there in between. So quite, at that point, I was in my probably 23, 24 years old. Um, Cut way back on the pop I was drinking, and a lot of the other things. Went from 320. I think the lowest I got at that point was about 212, I think, on the scale, somewhere in there. So lost over 100 pounds in about a year. But I didn't create any really good new habits. I just basically, it was a white knuckle type thing. Um, you know, just cut back on stuff, and I think is what we've all found out over time is that if you don't create the new habits, if you don't create the good habits that will you know work the rest of your life, um, you're not making long term changes. So. Did that a few more times. That wasn't the first time or last time that I, white knuckled the loss. I was always good at getting some exercise. I love to bike, love to walk, love to get out in nature. It's always been a big part of my thing. Um, did the did the uh, got down to as low as 193, I think, when I did it's called Take Shape for Life, I think, believe is Metafast. And that was really a white knuckle thing where you're, basically 1,000 calories a day trying to do whatever you could to um, white knuckle it. That was not fun. But it did work, but it didn't create any good new habits. So a few years back, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I did start keto. My wife encouraged me to try keto, and it was a very dirty keto. It wasn't anything clean like that. Um, a lot of the a lot of the keto garbage that we're all very familiar with, and that Vinny just documentary on, but it did work. I was eating fairly good with some of the keto garbage along with it, but I started dropping weight. Trouble is, then I went to the doctor, and guess what happened to my cholesterol? Robyn probably very well aware. I'm in the same boat she's in. Maybe not quite as extreme, but yeah, my cholesterol, which has never been an issue my whole life, all of a sudden I'm being told, "Hey, there's a problem." So at that point, I was kind of just doing it on my own, didn't have anything to go along with, and that uh, kind of threw me for a loop. So backed off the keto, went back to my old style of eating, and back to the wonderful sad American diet. Although unfortunately over time I had gotten rid of the pop, went to drinking black coffee, a lot of water. So I had created some better habits along the way, and that was very key for me. I know my wife really struggles with finding something to drink. She can't drink black coffee. She has to have something in it. Water she gets very bored with. So it was very, very nice for me that I was able to drink black coffee, and to do those and to have the water. I Do I get bored with it sometimes? Sure. I think we all get a little bit bored. We're all I'm a sugar addict, no question about it. I like sweet things. Um, I think we all are to some extent. So, um, but yeah, I did create a few good habits along the way, and they have stuck with me through time. So, Mike Rowe's been somebody I've followed for quite a few years. I really enjoy Mike Rowe, and all of a sudden I hear this guy who really resonated with me. It's like I don't know what it is to say that he just I don't know. I just connected with Vinnie. A lot like me in a lot of ways. I'm from the trucking industry my whole life in one form or another, and Vinny sounded like a lot of the people around me, every day that I was talking to and dealing with. He's just kind of a down to earth, real guy in a lot of ways. I mean, a lot of people don't like some of his gruffness, but that's okay. He connected with me. So at that point, I got very much into the NSNG lifestyle. Got rid of the keto crap. Basically went to all real food, read his books, watched his documentaries. And you get connected to a group. You get connected to the people online that he brings on. You know, the Dave Feldmans, the people like that who really connected with me because of my my mm, mm, my cholesterol skyrocketing. So now this next time I went into my, after that, when I went back into my doctor again, guess what had gone up even more this time? So suddenly now my cholesterol is approaching 300, my LDL's at 200. Um, and uh, uh, but now I had some ammunition to go and talk to the doctor with. So talked to the doctor about it. We went through everything. Told her basically I had no desire to get into any kind of medication. I'm very anti-medication. I said this is the healthiest I've eaten in my entire life. I just eat real food. And it seems funny to me that when the healthiest I've ever been uh, is seeing my cholesterol go up. When I was 300 pounds and had a cholesterol of 170, does it really make a whole lot of sense that now that I'm eating healthier and doing better things and to see that cholesterol go up? So LDL was up around 200. I talked her into saying, I just asked her about a coronary artery calcium score. I said, what do you think about this? And she goes, well, sometimes they pick up other things when they're in there. I said, okay, if they do, then we'll deal with that. But what do you think about that? And so she agreed to it and set me up the appointment for it, went in and got it. Um, Kind of surprised me a little bit. My calcium score was 0 at 50. It must have been 50, probably 53 at that time. So calcium score was 0 for my age. That's pretty good considering I spent a lot of my life, eating the standard American diet, full of crap, too much pop over the time, too sedentary, sitting in a truck or in an office. I wasn't a driver the whole time, but I've always been in the trucking industry. So I did things like I was a supervisor, I was in sales, I was a manager. Um, a lot of things where you're very sedentary and not necessarily moving so much. So I think the key with a lot of things are you just got to decide what you're going to do and what's important to you. Um, you don't have to you don't have to be perfect. My goodness, none of us are perfect. But you just have to make a choice every day when you get up. There's days I didn't want to get up. I get up at 4 o'clock every morning. Um, I go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30 in the morning. So I did that all summer. So the only way I'm going to get my exercise in is to get up and get out of bed, go for a walk. Always had my cup of coffee first, so just couldn't get away from that. But so get up and is there mornings that I didn't want to walk out the door, because I would just walk out the door and go for a walk down my road. Um, People who followed me on X or a lot of those people would see that I would post that stuff, so they would know. But I did what it was I think it was 1,043 miles I did this past summer, just getting up and going for a walk every morning. And believe me, there's plenty of those days I didn't want to go out. But as soon as you get out and make those first steps, down 9 steps down to the ground and head down the driveway and hit the road, pretty soon you're just doing it. You don't think about it. You just got to make those first moves. Um, Now I'm trying to do some more things. It's winter here in northern Minnesota. Yes, I'm up in northern Minnesota, probably too close to Kurt. I probably shouldn't say that name, but anyway, he is on the other side of the state. But this is winter is here. So I'm not going to get up and go for a walk every morning. So I did decide that it was time, and at my stage in life, that I needed to gain some muscle. Always been strong. It's not. I never felt like I needed to. I was always got bored lifting weights when I did it in the gym previously. But this time I went in with a plan. Uh, Went in with a push pull leg day. Um, and based on a lot of what Vinny has taught me over the years. Basically been following Vinny for the last 3 years. So I mean, there's not much that I haven't heard over time. Much of it I wish, a lot of it you're trying to remember what he said and what podcast he might have said it on, so you could go back and listen to some of the things again. But yeah, just decided that's my new routine now. So it's winter, I'm in a summer construction profession right now. So I'm not really working. So it's really easy to make that decision to get into that, to create those new habits. So but there's still a day you get up, now I got to drive to the gym. So it's only 10 minutes away. It's not that far, but you still gotta, sometimes you're convincing yourself, you know what, you gotta just start the truck and go out there and get in the vehicle and start the drive. As soon as you get there, you're fine. You just got to go do it. It's once you get there, you're fine. If you've got a plan set up, I've got everything written down in my daily planner. It's just a calendar planner is all it is. And I write down what I did, how many sets I'm doing, what the weights are, and the exercises I'm doing, because I'm alternating a little bit. I'm doing bench press on the with free weights, but also do use the machine, the press on the machines. Doing a lot of trying to do a little bit of both, keep it mixed up a little bit. Um, and the one thing, this is a little bit of vanity speaking, but one of the things that I decided was, I'm 120 pounds lighter than I've been at the heaviest in my life. I'm right around 200 pounds now today. Um, got a lot of loose skin. A lot of bad living is caught up to me over time. So, what's the best way to fill some of that loose skin back up? Might as well put some muscle back in there. And I'm at an age in life where I'm probably losing it faster than I want to think about. So I'll be 56 in 2 days, and and I feel great. I'm as healthy as I've ever been since I was probably 12 years old. Because 12 years old is when, early 80s, when all of a sudden that's when the whole new diet guidelines came out, and my parents went into them whole hog. So I think that's where my weight really started to pile on, and I I think that's a pretty common story out there, unfortunately. And it'd be nice to see some things change. I don't know if they will or won't with the guidelines that are out there. Nina's working very hard. Dave's working very hard. Dave Feldman, to try and change some of that stuff. Hopefully, they can make a dent in some of it. The foods that we're being fed in this country are not good for us. I don't think there's any question about that. So yeah, that's kind of my thumbnail sketch of my story. That might give you a start to a few different things. So.
I couldn't unmute my microphone for some reason. I don't know why that was happening, but thank you, Russ, for sharing your story. So, I mean, that was like the quickest run through, but so much information. And I can tell you that I needed to hear everything you have to say, because I'm just like super struggling right now with getting back on the ball with my workouts. So I'm like, I wrote down in all caps on my notepad here, get a calendar planner. That's genius. I wrote all my workouts down. I have like a worksheet that I created that I wrote it down in, but it's easy to just be like, I'll do that next week. Or then I was like writing it down just in like a composition book. And I was like, I can just add stuff next week. But a calendar, that creates some major accountability. That is genius. I love it. And I will be implementing that myself. So thank you for that great tidbit.
I will have to take
So
a pic.
you have
Say,
to what?
I'll take a picture of my calendar. It's simple. I'm a small business owner. I own my own business, so it's actually just a calendar I got from the insurance company that I deal with, who takes care of my company insurance. Didn't cost me a thing. It's just a small little notebook size. But yeah, I can take a picture of it and I'll throw it up on the group site, so people can see what I'm doing. And it makes a difference. Just writing things down. I think we all, and to be able to look back and see what you did the last time, but uh, but yeah, it's just so. It's just a good way of doing it. I think it was the smartest way for me to do it, because when you write things down, it sinks in. Like, if you when you write a sentence down or write something down in the book, it just uh it just it just sinks into your head much better, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. You can only rely on so much just motivation. So you got to have something to look at constructively and say, I check it off the list. I did it today. Just like you saying, I'm not going to get it done if I don't walk out the door and do it right away. That's like a powerful thing. If you just decide one day that I'm going to wake up and not do the thing, that's just going to derail you. So it keeps you honest the whole time. And I totally get it. And like I said, I needed to hear that. So probably somebody else out there needed to hear it as well. Before we go on, I'm just going to go ahead and say that we are opened up for questions. So those of you who are here and listening, please write in your questions. Natalie's going to field them for us today. So bear with us while we get through that. But please feel free to ask your questions, and we will get them to Russ. In the meantime, I wanted to ask you more about your doctor, because I had, we don't hear very often about these doctors who, like, they're your random run-of-the-mill standard doctor, and you go in there and you say, I don't want to take medicine. I want to have a CAC and see what my risk is. And here I have some information from this guy named Dave Feldman. Will you work with me? And you actually found that doctor. Did you have to trial and error and find, go through a bunch of different doctors, or were you just lucky on the first try?
Who's actually my current doctor. It's sad to say she just stepped out of the I don't know what she went into, but she was done in November. So now I'm searching for another doctor. But um, you have to be your own advocate. You just can't, doctors have a lot of good information, and they're not our enemy, but they also fall very much into the standard of care. They're held accountable by their employer. If you have a LDL or a cholesterol rating of this, they're required to recommend you go on a statin or recommend this or that or the other thing. And I just told her straight out. I said, you put whatever notes in there you have to put in there to say that here's what you wanted me to do, and that I'm choosing not to do that right now. When I had the CAC score done, I didn't get a call from her, but I got a message. Right, there's everything's online nowadays, so I got a message from her through the portal through the portal, and her message to me was CAC score of 0. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm not going to recommend anything different. You're doing great. Just keep up the good work. But I did have to advocate for that. I did have to push back a little bit. They're very knowledgeable. I mean, you don't get to be a uh, doctor, nurse. I mean, that you just don't become that. They go through a lot of training. They know what they're doing. I think they just get very much caught up in um, they have to follow the protocols that are set forward by the hospitals that they're working for, and that's, they have to cover their butts. I understand that. So I'm not telling everybody else what to do. Use your doctors, ask them questions, advocate for yourself. That's really what you have to do.
That's an excellent point, that you know that you made this choice for yourself, and you had a doctor that supported that decision, which is frankly difficult to find. But whoever else out there is going through the same thing, I encourage you to find a doctor who is willing to listen to you and any research that you can present to them. But you still need to listen to your doctor because I know for myself, I was labeled as non-compliant, and basically my doctors didn't want to deal with me at all because I was pushing back so hard. So then you eventually run out of doctors. So you got to tread lightly, and it sounds like you did it right. And maybe you can reach out to your doctor and say, hey, is there anybody else you can recommend that I go see now that you're not practicing anymore? And that will understand, or at least maybe after you find the next person, was that in your notes? Because I need to send those notes to my new doctor so that they can understand that you were on board with it and everything is okay. We got this worked out. And I also want to tell you, because I'm going through this right now, wherever you got your CAC done, go get the CD. It's your record. You need to go get it. I was asked for mine and I can't get it. And the hospital system's being real stingy for some reason. And I've called, I've left messages. I've had 2 different doctors try to get them from the hospital, and they're not giving them out. So it's wrong because they're mine. They belong to me, but I can't get them. So if you want to have that record, you have the written record, but if you want to actually have the image, I would highly encourage you to go to wherever you had your procedure done and get that CD. Just keep it in your files. You may need it someday. You never know. It's a good tool for comparison down the line.
Yeah, because my goal is to have it probably every 5 years or so. I'm
Yeah.
still new to this. I call it lifestyle, but it's really not. I don't think of it as a lifestyle because you're just eating real food. I spent my whole life, always thinking about food. What was my next meal going to be? What was I going to have next? What was I going to have for lunch? What was I going to have for dinner? Um, I eat 2 meals a day. I'm never hungry. Um, I do like to eat, so if there's food around, I can still fall into that habit of habit eating. Or hey, if it's there, grab it. Um, so some of the things that have gotten me into trouble over my whole NSNG uh, pathway, as you could say, um, things for people to be aware of. Uh, Cheese and dairy can get you. Um, they can get you in a hurry. They're not going to raise your blood sugar, but they're very dense and very caloric. And you think, oh, you're just I'm eating right. I'm eating good food. So um, it can get you. Nuts are a huge problem for me. I can eat nuts by the handful. I basically had to ask my wife to not buy any, not bring any in the house, or if she does bring them into the house, I don't need to see them, and they need to be in a place where they're not easily accessible to me. So, um, those are two big things that I found were huge for me. And another thing this is more for me personally. Everybody's different on this. Once I start eating for the day, I have a tendency to want to keep eating for the day. So I basically don't. My first meal is at noon. I get up at 4 in the morning and I don't eat till noon. And then we'll have dinner. So I basically will have very late breakfast, early lunch, whatever you want to call it. And then have dinner later on. um, Another thing I can highly recommend is I've got one on right now. I've got a continuous glucose monitor that my wife and doctor both thought I was a little bit crazy when I suggested it. Um, it's a great tool. It really is to keep you on track or to keep you on top of what you're eating. It gives you real time info on what's going on. Highly recommend it. I mean, I've got an older style, but I did have to get a prescription for mine, but I know that's changing now. So, but it was $30. My insurance covered part of it, so it was $30 per kit for 2 weeks. We got them piled up in the thing now because I don't keep going from one to another. But did get my wife doing that as well, so she is also monitoring some of the things she's doing to try and keep that blood sugar low, and it makes a difference. My average blood sugar right now with that continuous glucose monitor is in the mid 80s. So it, might dive up a little bit, but you also find little things. I mean, I still love berries. I love raspberries. I love raspberries. I love blueberries. They really don't affect you nearly so much if you have some protein before you eat them. If you eat them at the end of your meal, if you're having eggs or protein, you don't see that spike at all with berries. Where if you eat just berries straight up without having anything, yeah, you'll see your blood sugar spike. They're not going through the roof. I'm pretty metabolically healthy, so they'll come right back down. But you definitely see them spike. Where I don't see that if I've had protein before then. They might go. I, I think I had some raspberries for after lunch today. Handful of raspberries after having eggs with bacon and basically kind of threw together a scramble. Didn't go up at all. I basically stayed in the 90s for my blood sugars after that. So highly
That's
recommended.
interesting. Yeah, I've heard. So if I ever eat berries, I always add like butter. I'll melt butter and mix the berries up in the butter. So I add fat. There's a little bit of protein in there. I add fat, but I've never worn a CGM. So now I'm curious, and I've been curious. I think I'm gonna go ahead and bite the bullet and try it myself with the CGM. So I've never heard anybody say that eating protein first helps it. So that's an interesting little factoid that I'm gonna use. There's a recipe. I always call it the tutti frutti cafluti. It's in I think it's in the first Anna Vocino Eat Happy cookbook, and it's eggs and berries and just like some cinnamon and nutmeg, and it's really, really good. So now I think that's on the table. I think I'm gonna make that. Maybe maybe I'll have that as dessert, and it won't be a big spike in blood sugars or anything like that. So that's a good tip there. I see that Natalie has a question, so I'm going to turn it over to Natalie.
I do. I do have a question. And I would just like to say, guys, that for some reason our chat within the live is not working. So I'm monitoring the chat through YouTube. So if you have any questions, just type them there and I'll throw them at Russ. But Russ, I have a question. You mentioned that your wife wears a GCM. And so are you guys doing this lifestyle together?
Yes, somewhat. She's definitely not 100% on board with it as much as she's definitely not 100% there. She can't, I can eat a ribeye steak twice a day, wouldn't think twice about it, and that'd be all I could eat. Um, she gets very bored with that. She can't eat the same things all the time. I mix it up a little bit, but it's it's become it's just food. I mean, I could eat a steak for every meal. I could eat eggs for every meal. None of that stuff is that big a deal to me. I find the most success for me right now seems to come with mostly carnivore. I mostly eat meat and eggs. Um, I do eat some. I don't eat vegetables as much. I do eat some berries and stuff like that here and there, but I don't hardly eat any vegetables anymore. When I first started, I used to eat a lot of salads, a lot of broccoli, a lot of the cruciferous greens that are talked about. So, asparagus, broccoli, things like that. Loved them, and I still don't mind them, but they're just I don't care if I have them or not anymore. It's not something I go out of my way to cook. It's easy for me to throw a steak on. It's easy for me to mix up some eggs and some bacon or sausage and just throw them all in and make a kind of scramble up. That's basically probably my go-to for a late breakfast is that. It's just nice and easy to do. So, but the CG, yeah, um, she's working towards it. She's at a she's the same age as you. She's a few years younger than me, so but she's going through menopause. There's a lot of challenges there. What's funny with the CGM is everybody, what works for me doesn't work for everybody else. It's amazing how different our bodies are and how different things um, react to them. You listen to um, like Casey Means and some of the stuff she does, and she'll say that some things really affected her with some of the fruits and stuff, and other things don't at all. Um, and that's what the CGM is great for. You can see how your own body reacts to things because you know, it's amazing how different and how bodies react so differently to things. We're all such incredible creatures in the way we're designed, and it's just amazing. I mean, those of us with kids, you see it. I've got 4 kids, and they're 4 completely different personalities, and everything about them is different, and it's hard to believe they came from the same 2 people. um and I think that's the way we all are, and you got to do some trial and error. What works for me isn't going to work for everybody. What works for somebody else isn't going to work for me. I think it's a decision. You just got to get up every day and choose what's going to work for you and try not to let things get in the way. It's a tough time of year right now. I mean, my goodness, I'm lucky. My wife and I are both introverts. We could care less if we go out in public. We could care less if we spend time in groups. We're not partiers. We don't go out and spend, big group things. So that makes it a little easier for us because we're not in the middle of parties and food spreads and desserts and you know I'm an independent contractor, so I work for myself, so I don't go into an office every day where I'm dealing with people bringing in food. I was helping my cousin who's since my work right now is a little bit lower in the wintertime, I was helping him out, and we'd go in and buy. He's in the HVAC business. You go to the suppliers, and you go to these suppliers, and they've got cookies and donuts and stuff out on the counter for customers coming in. It's easy for me at this point to not even look at them, but I can see how that can be a real struggle for people, to have to be able to walk. I don't even think about it anymore. I just don't. My family doesn't harass me too much anymore. My mom loves to bake. She loves to feed people. She loves to give. That's her love language. Is she loves to bring enjoyment to others through basically through her food. And it took her a while. She used to get very frustrated with me that I wouldn't, eat whatever goodies she put out when I'd stop by to have coffee with them. But it's come around. They don't even think about it anymore. They don't offer it, which is very nice. They don't make a big deal out of it anymore. So, but you gotta stand up for yourself too, and just say, you don't have to make a big deal out of it. You just say, no, thank you, no, I don't need it right now. So, you don't have to get up in your soapbox, which I have done before. I think that's common to do. So I'm watching my son right now. He's kind of going through the same. He went off to school and came back home now, and he's working full time, and he's struggled with his weight for a few years. He's lost 75 pounds now, mostly following what I'm doing. Didn't make a big deal out of it. He just started, kind of paying attention to what I was doing, and what and waiting till noon really worked for him too. So he doesn't get up and eat breakfast. He eats basically 2 meals a day. He takes something good to eat with him to work, and comes home and eats dinner. And that's been really nice, and to see him, hopefully at a lot younger age able to get a handle on this than I did, because it's a struggle. Every day is a struggle. So
Yeah, that's
You have a
amazing that
success story inside of a
you
success
do.
story. That's amazing. I love that.
Exactly. I love hearing about your son. And that was going to be sort of my next twofold question was, the way you're eating with now that your children are much older, is this rubbing off on them? And also if you could just tell me what is a day in Russ's eating like? What's like a typical day for you to eat? What food do you eat?
uh well, today was pretty typical, actually. So today I got up, went and I didn't actually do. Today was a day off, so I didn't actually go work out today. Um, but I had a bunch of stuff to do around the house here, trying to get a bathroom finished in the basement. So, um, and trying to do some work around the house. I'm busy all summer, working 6 days a week. 50, 60 hours a week. So now is the time for me to catch up on some of the stuff around home. 10:30 today, I think I fried up some. Took some bacon, threw some andouille sausage in a pan, uh, warmed it all up, cooked it all up, and threw 3 eggs in with it. Basically made a scramble out of it. So that was kind of brunch. We just before this call, we just went on and had. Um, hey, a lot of times when I'm out and about in the morning, I'll go to Sam's Club. Because if you get there right in the morning, we've got the extended membership. So if you get there in the morning, a lot of times they have yesterday's meat on, use or freeze by. So a lot of times I'll be able to grab, very good quality cuts of meat. And so tonight we had filet mignon because I picked up some of that. So we're able to fry that up, and that's what we had for dinner. And wasn't nothing to go with it. It was just the meat. Um, and that was pretty typical. There's a lot of times I might have some string cheese or something in the middle of the day if I do um, happen to feel like I want to have something during the day. And like I say, I got to be careful because I still like to eat. You know, so if I'm staying busy and doing things, it's easy not to worry about that. So that's one of the things I do. Kids, my I've got 3 boys and a girl. So my my number two son is the one who's back home with us now. So, my oldest son is going to school in the cities. Yeah, I don't, Robyn, I think you had one still in St. Paul or not. I don't remember, but so my oldest is going to University of St. Thomas down in St. Paul, Minnesota. So he is he's very good about his diet and his workout routine. He has been since he went into the service. He basically the Army is paying for his college education. So he's been good. My youngest was never, he just went off into the Navy, so he's full time in the Navy. He's one who just never ate a lot. He ate total garbage when he did eat, but he could literally eat only one meal a day and that was fine for him. Wasn't great food, but he's very healthy for his size. So, and my one son who struggled the most with his weight, now I'm seeing, he's the success story alongside of me, and it's wonderful to see because it's like I told him. I said you're going to be able to fix problems early on that I'm having to deal with now that are very hard to fix when you're in your mid 50s. It's a whole different stage of life. So
I love that. I love hearing that your son is being influenced without you getting on a soapbox, may I add. When you learn how to uh, not get on your soapbox, can you let all of us know? Because I'm still learning how to get off mine. So we have a question from our friend Trisha. She would like to know, since you're consistent with your workouts, do you have any new fitness goals for the new year?
just to be consistent, I want to build the muscle. So I mean, I've did the, I've done the, I had basically a goal of an hour of cardio last year. I haven't checked my numbers. I'm sure I'm well above that right now between my spinner and the walking this summer and staying with the hour a day still to this point. So I'm pretty sure I'm well above that number. I think they're both important, but I'm going to be backing off that. I'm sorry, following Vinny. I guess I'm going to try and gain some more muscle. So I'm putting a little more time and effort into the lifting, but I just need to that's a habit I need to create still. So I'm in the very beginning stages of that. I've got all the workout stuff here. That's when my wife got upset when I got a gym membership because I've got a pretty thorough setup in the basement. But I think I need that extra motivation to get out there, get to the gym, make that commitment to being in a place, and hopefully by this time next year, um, I won't need that gym membership again because I've got everything I need here in the basement. I mean, I literally got everything I need. So if the habit is there, if the habit's made, it's gonna be very easy to stick with it. But I think writing it down is important. I think having that goal in mind because it can be boring, and it does take time. And to do it right, you don't want to be careful. You don't injure yourself. I mean, I'm not as young as I used to be, so I don't want to get injured because that'll put a big thing. Robyn dealt with that this past year. She saw what injury can do when you're trying to work out. So, you got to be careful with that. You don't want to overdo it. You got to build up to it slowly, but yet you need to get out there and do it. You just need to go do it.
Yes, I hear you. I see you pointing your finger at me. I got it. Okay, I got it. No, I think that was a great. That is the right answer, right? That you say there's no right answer for things, but that's the right answer. Staying consistent is the right answer to that question, and tracking it is also so important. So you're driving that point home, and I get it, Russ. I get it. Thank you. So
We all had big eyes at Robyn there for a second, didn't we?
yeah.
Judging.
We often trigger each other in this chat, and here we are. It's me now. I'm the one that's triggered. That's okay. We'll get through it. And and that's the thing. We all know each other through community, and that is just so important. We know what's going on with each other and we can help push each other through. So, it's a well-deserved tongue lashing that I'm getting from Russ right now about about sitting still at home. So I get it. You did it. So thank you. And I was going to go back now. I've turned my page, so I forgot what I was going to ask you. So we may just have to end up skipping what I was going to say because I won't be able to find it. I wrote so much stuff down, Russ. Here's what's interesting is that you said that you and your wife are very introverted, and you have filled up 45 minutes of chatting. So you deserve your nap afterwards. A nice nap.
Well, my wife never believed I'm an introvert, but I went through a lot of years where I did sales, I was a manager, I had to run meetings, I had to get in front of customers. So I had to learn to be very extroverted. Most people, when I tell them I'm an introvert, they just laugh at me and say, yeah, okay. Because I've just learned to be comfortable in myself, comfortable with what I can do. I've learned to speak in front of people. It started out in small groups, just uh, meetings, pre-shift meetings where you're just meeting with, four, five, six, seven, eight guys telling them what's going on that day, as a supervisor. And then, it moves on to bigger and bigger things. And pretty soon I'm getting up in front of groups of 50 people that are all my equals and giving presentations. And I started getting up on stage and singing at church and things like that, where I just got, you just learn to be comfortable with who you are. And I really got good at that. I got a dog scratching at the door, so hopefully she doesn't start barking over there. But
Things
yeah.
happen. That's the nature of the live discussion. Things happen in the background. I do remember what I was going to ask you, and that is, what is the biggest change? You said this has been about 3 years. So what would you say is like the biggest change that you've seen in yourself during this whole process?
Boy, I don't know, just I'm leaner than I've ever been. I'm not the lightest I've ever been, but I'm wearing smaller clothes than I've ever worn, even when I was 10 pounds lighter than I am now, just because I'm um much more just leaner. I mean, I'm still not where I would like to be, but I think a big part of it is I just need to tone now. I guess that's my goal right now, is to tone, build some muscle, tone things up, um, take that next step. I highly, you know, if you're new to this, focus on the diet. Focus on the food you're eating. If you can go for a walk, go for a walk. Anybody can go for a walk. But don't get too caught up on the exercise side of it. Get your diet in check first. Figure out what's going to work for you. Everything else will fall into place. That as you start to feel better and healthier, you have more energy. It's easier to get up and go for that walk. Then it's easier to go down in the basement and clean things up and do things that you've been thinking about doing for a while. It's easier to go to the gym. Uh, because you just have more energy. Everything's easier. I 10 years ago, if you'd have told me I could get down on the floor and do 25 straight push-ups, I'd have never believed you. I couldn't do probably two at that point. So, it takes time. It's easy to get frustrated. Um, Focus on the small things and focus on continuous improvement. Try and get a little bit better every day, you know. Mimi Morgan, I think we've all followed her story, a lot of her story. She's been on with you. Sometimes it starts with 20 steps. Sometimes it starts with Vinny after his first round with uh with chemo and just getting out to the mailbox and back. Small steps add up. They really do. I mean, you look at the pictures of Mimi nowadays and you're like, wow. I mean, incredible to where she was to where she's at now. Didn't come overnight. It's just you got to get through that frustration and look at the small wins, and small wins, over time become big wins.
I think you may have answered our last question before I asked it, but I'm going to ask it again when it's time anyway. And you might just have to come up with another beautiful nugget of advice, or you can just repeat the same one. But that was amazing. Everything you just said there, I'm a firm believer in that as well. It's like, get the diet right, dial that in. Everything else is going to come because you're going to have all this energy and you're not going to know what to do with it. So you're going to have to start putting it somewhere. You might as well start walking. You might as well start picking up heavy things. You might as well do that, because otherwise you're just going to be sitting around just like, what do I do with all this energy? So that was the perfect advice. And yes, what Mimi's doing is amazing. I'm going to go ahead and field this one, Natalie, that just popped up. Carolyn said she doesn't have any questions, but she's enjoying hearing another success story and learning about you. So thank you. I do want to ask you this before I ask the last question, and that is, where can people find you?
Mostly on X. I am on the community with I'm on the group with on Vinnie's group. So I don't do I try and post stuff on there fairly regularly, because I think community is what this is all about. I mean, Robyn, you and I have seen each other's names for the last 3 years. Have we ever done a lot of communicating back and forth? No, but we've known who each other is, and we kind of follow each other's stories. A community is huge. Uh, Use that community. We all could use some support. Reach out to me on X. It's under my name, Russ Saburn. Um, don't message me on our, what is it? I forget what our app is called.
Jobby. It's the
Yeah.
NSN VIP group, which is
Yep.
closed right now. But if you go to VinnieTortorich.com, you can sign up for the update, because he said he's opening it in the week between Christmas and New Year's. So you can join us all in the VIP group, where it's, again, I agree with you. Community is so important. We can't do this alone, especially like if your spouse or other family members in the house aren't doing it. You need some people that you can bounce some things off of. So that's really important. I see Natalie has another question. So take it away, Natalie.
Well, I do. Well, sort of a question. I also know you from the VIP group, and I've always been intrigued by your just popping in and posting your workouts, and then you pop out, and I'm like, what is Russ's deal? I need to know his story. Like, he's very interesting to me. I know there's more, and I've learned so much about you tonight, and so I'm really happy that we got to talk to you and find out. You do have a lot to say, and what you do have to say is very important, and we all need to hear it, because I do agree with you. The community is really what keeps me going. I keep myself saturated in all of this all of the time, because it has to be embedded in my brain at all times, because it keeps me going. So I do love that you said that, because I think we all here in this space agree with that. So thank you.
Yeah, and I got to remind myself sometimes to go in there to post, because I've gotten to the point where I just kind of feel like I'm just doing my thing, and sometimes you forget how you can, that little nugget will, people start looking forward to it. They might see things, they might see that, um, you know, when I posted that I'd done 1,000 miles this year, might give people something to think about, or, when I post my workouts or what I did that day, it's just something I don't think about as much anymore. Um, you know, I guess I don't need the community for myself so much anymore, but I need to remember that there's other people out there that can benefit from my story, just as I benefited from other people's story, when I first started this journey. So
I agree. I think that's so important that, we pay it forward. None of us would be where we are right now if there wasn't somebody else who had done it before us that was helping us out along the way. So we just got to keep paying it forward, just kind of what we're doing right now. So that's awesome. Thanks for doing that. And yes, please continue to post inside the community and share your story on X, because, then so many more people can see it and be inspired by it. It just takes one other person to see it, make it all worth it. So thank you so much for joining us. Now, I have a final question before we go. I've asked everyone this question. You've kind of answered it. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. What is one piece of advice that you would give someone who is just embarking on their health journey?
Consistency, just make a plan, stick with it. Focus on the diet, focus on eating the right foods. That's huge. You need to cut the sugar out to begin with. If you're just starting this journey, you basically got to go cold turkey with sugar, and that's not easy. At first 30 to 45 days, that can be hard, especially in this world we live in. But if you can get through that 30 days, you, you can do anything. And if you fall, just get up and start it over again the next day. We all fall at times. I'm not perfect, that's for sure. I'm sure none of us are. We all have days where we grab food we shouldn't have grabbed. Just get up and forget about it and move on. Have a cup of coffee, make a double espresso or quadruple espresso like Vinnie would do, and get that taste out of your mouth and move on.
That's excellent advice. And, we were talking about community. I always say that if you notice that somebody's missing, to reach out. And that's, I think, it's such an important piece of it, of all of it as well. Like we can struggle together too. Like it's not always going to be, I walked 1,000 steps this summer or 1,000 miles this summer. Sometimes I'm really struggling and I need somebody to hold my hand and help me get out of it. So all sides of this are important for every single one of us. So again, I really appreciate you joining us tonight, Russ. It's been great to actually speak to you and hear your story and not get little tidbits here and there and actually hear the whole thing. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight and share. And I appreciate all of our guests who were here listening and chatting. Everybody is saying how much they love you and how much they love that you shared your story. So I hope you're feeling that love because it is coming your way through our chat tonight. So on behalf of Natalie and Russ and myself, thank you for joining us. You guys have a great holiday. Remember, we're going to steal Vinnie's words here. It's not what you eat between New Year's and Christmas. Oh, did I say it backwards? It's not what you eat between Christmas and New Year's. It's what you eat between New Year's and Christmas. So, hey, keep yourself honest. And remember, you can always reach out to any one of us if you need any support this season. So thanks again. Stick with us, Russ, while we hang up and we can say goodbye after we shut it all down. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.